6:30. Do we have a quorum right now?
I'm actually just checking that, and I think the answer with Ray is that we do, if you count the people who are representing other people.
Right.
And obviously, IDOT. Thank you, gentlemen, for helping us form a quorum.
Okay, all right, okay, we in business. Good morning, everybody. Pardon my voice. Much better, but it's not as good as used to be before, but it's getting better. So hope you can hear me well. Meeting for the July 21st, the Transportation Technical Committee calls the meeting to order. We do have a quorum based on what Jen told me, and so we can go to item number 3, which is public comments. Any members of the public want to make comments or anything?
We have received no requests for comment or comments communicated to us, and pretty much as per usual. And I don't see anyone present who is not part of our staff, unless they want to comment, obviously.
Okay, moving on to item number 4 for approval of the minutes for the June 16th meeting. Questions, comments?
Actually, there is one that Brian caught. Oh, here it is. Under item 5 on page 2 of the June 16th minutes, rather than Mr. Stokes moving for approval of the FY 2004 through 2028, it's 2024. And I will make that correction.
Okay. All right, any other questions, comments? Okay, hearing none. I'll take a motion for approval with that added.
Motion.
And second.
I'm sorry, who seconded?
Okay.
Oh, you're sitting right next to me.
All right, questions, comments on the motion? Take a vote. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, it's approved. Moving on to item number 5, it's regarding the Connect Transit Public Transit Agency Safety Plan. That was executed in June last month. And Jen, could you provide us with some context background, please?
Just a moment, since we do not have Connect, unfortunately. There are a couple of documents that Connect Transit as part of a tier of small urban and rural public transit agencies are engaged with IDOT in developing. They're required. This is the second of them. This group and the policy committee have already approved the earlier one back in, I think, January or February. This is again, it's a sort of collective thing, but this is the version for Connect Transit, which establishes a set of principles and practices and policies with respect to safety management and activities with respect to Connect Transit itself. So there's, as you see, it's a short document. It's only 15 pages. And this was recently executed by both the general manager and by the board of trustees, the chair of the board of trustees as of the end of June, which is why we're doing this now. And IDOT has requested that, although we're not directly involved in the development of these documents, that we go ahead and take them through our approval process in the technical and policy committees, which is what we're doing today. This, again, as you glance through it, you'll see that there's a series of sections which have to do with handling safety activities on behalf of the agency, procedures, and generally this is, again, developed with IDOT's approval, and this is the final version. So unless people have specific questions, that's an overview.
Okay, questions, comments from anybody? Okay, I entertain a motion for approval of this safety plan. Okay, Kevin. A second. Okay. Questions, comments, discussions? Seeing none, I'll take a vote for approval as per the motion. So please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Motion approved. number 6 on the item. This is our first amendment to the TIP. No. And Jen, would you please, because it was, as you recall, we just most recently at last month's meeting, the policy committee did approve the TIP. And so Jen, could you please explain this?
Sure. Again, this year, as has become pretty much standard procedure, IDOT's program did not come out before the end of the fiscal year, which meant that we were not able to include it in the TIP document for FY 24 through 28. States is through 29, by the way, but we don't use that last year of theirs. And so we adopted it with, there's Jacob, you just missed it. But yeah, do you want to say anything about it before we move on?
But we'll come back to that.
Okay, that's fine. So Mark, bless his heart, managed to get me the state's program with respect to Bloomington, Normal, and McLean County through District 5 quite quickly. So we were able to generate an update through Amendment 1, which will become sort of replacement document. This will supersede the document as it was adopted in June, and this will go to policy next week. The copies I just made for some reason don't have all the draft information on them. I may have forgotten to check a box in the print menu, but it has everything else from the document, again, is approved, except the appendices, because they don't change yet. And then what's different here is starting on page 11, I think, the new tables for each year's projects, which now include the IDOT projects. What happened here? Did I grab the wrong one? No, here it is. Sorry. So on page 13, you'll see IDOT District 5 with things under it. So, those changes have all been made, and that continues through page 14 and onward through page 22. This list went from 8 pages to 12 in the course of this updating. And what this means in sort of overall terms is that the 5-year program went from about $203 million to $353 million with the addition of the state's projects. Almost all of that is in the form of federal investments across those 5 years in large-scale interstate bridge, all of the usual suspects kinds of projects that have been added through the district and as a result of the release of the state's multi-year program. So the one thing that I have not yet managed to get updated, and I will make other people's lives a misery doing this over the next couple of weeks, is adding those projects to the annual maps. We really didn't have time to do this in time to get this on the agenda this time, but we will do that. And then there will be, on Monday, there will be a publication of a notice of this process in a 30-day review period, which is noted on the cover of the document. And that will allow us to conduct this 30 days, much as we did for the original one, because the change in the amount of the program is so enormous. This is a 74% increase in the overall cost of the 5 years. So we don't plan to hold a public hearing, and we won't notice a public hearing at the technical committee meeting in August, but that 30 days will conclude before the policy committee, and we will approve, I hope, and that of course depends on you guys, Amendment 1, so that we can move forward and not have to sort of go back and forth between the old version and the new version in making further amendments. Almost all of the amendments to our TIP over time come from District 5. And so, and there are a handful of exceptions, but for the most part, it is from the district. So we want to make it nice and clean and have this adopted before we start amending anything else. Just want to make a note, if anyone does have anything coming up that they think they'll need to have added to an amendment as an amendment in August, we'll go ahead and do this first and then add it on as starting with Amendment 2. That's about it. As I said, it's a substantial increase. That's why we're doing this in this sort of more formal way than we have in the past. And that will bring us up to a complete document for FY 24 through 28.
Questions, comments, discussions? Okay, hearing none. We ask for a motion. So, Terry, second.
I'll second.
Approval. So questions, comments, discussion. Call for a vote. Those who in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion approved. Since we have a representative from Connect here, I just want to go back, just give everybody a chance. Although we did approve the item number 5 on the agenda on the transit agent safety plan, just in case you have questions, now's the time to ask. If not, we can just move on to item number 7. Good, all right. Item number 7, that which may arise. Any items anybody want to raise, bring our attention?
I'll start by apologizing that I was running late today. Sorry for throwing off item 5 there. I was jogging my way up to room 404 after being stuck behind City of Bloomington recycling. Which had someone attempt to pass them, at which point they hit another car.
Oh, no.
So Market Street, have fun. They didn't hit your truck, but I was there. So sorry about that to the group. I wanted to go ahead and bring up as well, though, that we did launch Connect Flex this week. That's our new on-demand service, operating right now in Southwest Bloomington. So anything south of Market and west of Main Street, those are kind of the perimeter boundaries, all the way out to municipal boundaries and a little bit out of bounds now, thanks to our new IGA. So we've been seeing some really positive first reception on that. If anyone in the group is curious what that program looks like for sake of your activities, or just your own curiosity, let me know. It's been really fun to play with, and it's been really neat to see members of the community in a fairly food deserted, transit deserted area being able to fully interact now with their own neighborhood and the rest of the system.
Good.
How's it going? I mean, do you have a sense? It's early days.
Good. I mean, yeah, it's very early days. There are people that have, a lot of people booking and canceling to see how it works. A lot of people calling in thinking they need to call the schedule, trying to figure out how to download the app, things like that. So, but for the people that are using it, we've already had some reception from our operators as well as members of the community that they already have people that are using it as their daily commute plan, that are using it to get to work, to interact with the neighborhood. OSF has had people already using it to get to there as well, because there is no true core medical network connectivity to the Southwest as well. So we're seeing it in very small form hitting a lot of its initial goals. If that scales up and proves successful, I think we have a lot of opportunity here, which is really great. It is obviously 1 weekend. We'll see how it goes, but it's been fun to see it launch.
How many vehicles are you running?
We have 5 total in our fleet. We're running 3 well, we've been running 4, but 2 of them have basically been more training than live, that people can get onto them or book through them, but we've been trying to keep those mostly that way. Our goal is to have 2 vehicles live through most of the time, and then maybe introduce a 3rd for peak if we notice instances where different shift schedules or specific waves of people are coming in. Like, if zone captures Ferrero, for example, if their 6 a.m. shift start had enough of a reason, we could introduce a 3rd vehicle for a peak. It's also going to help us inform decisions where we might be able to introduce some type of single leg like shift tripper that you see more so in larger communities. So it's going to help us make those decisions and be as efficient as possible. But right now we're launching 2 vehicles throughout most of the day, or through the entirety of the day, from 5 a.m. to 10:30 p.m.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. This was going to be my next question. So what are the operators?
Yeah, 5 to 10:30 right now, and that's one that it pretty well matches our fixed route service. Another one though that we will have a lot more flexibility with that fixed route bus in the future. So we, I think, have defined everything pretty clearly as we figured out what we thought would be best, and we are fully prepared and set up to change quickly and efficiently as we need to. So it's been a fun one. It's been a busy one, but it's been a fun one.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah.
I suppose you connect working with like the neighborhood residents and the employers to promote this, right?
Yes, yeah, we've been doing a lot of like directly like in organization, boots on the ground. We think this is going to be one that really aids itself to grassroots style marketing, and people are going to have to learn to use it by liking it. We can't just say ride Flex today and tell people what it does. that only goes so far in transit. So we've been getting involved with not only the workplaces, but also different, even communities that are in the area, high density apartment locations like Danbury, for example, there that used to have service and then no longer did. And now this can be a way to have it back. So working through their like community areas to have things distributed, or work with Q&A sessions, working through the different parks areas. West Bloomington Revitalization Project, which is also in the area. Bloomington Revivalists is another group that's been really great for boots on the ground type efforts. So we're exploring all those different ways, and it's still reaching out. So if there are any groups that any of you or anyone that you work with frequently come to mind, let us know and we'll be happy to, or if you want to see it yourself, let us know. We're happy to set something up to show off the system.
It's still free. The initial launch is until what, September?
September 1, we are fare free on that system at least until September 1. And that one helps people get out, get to try it, doesn't introduce that burden of cost. Also, we didn't have to figure out the fare system before we gave ourselves an extra 3 months to figure out fare. We'll see how that all ends up looking in the long term. A lot of decisions to be made there from both the board and from some of our staff. But yeah, it's free right now, so if you want to go and try it, it's really cool. It's all app-based, so we're not supposed to keep saying this, but very similar to like Uber or Lyft, something along those lines. When you book it, it comes straight to your corner and takes you somewhere within the zone or connects you to the fixed route.
Very cool.
Yeah.
How far in advance do people need to do the booking?
They can book up to, I believe we have it set right now, you can book up to a few, I have to double check, because we just actually ran throttled it down, because we did have a lot of people that were like booking everything they had for the month and then showed up to nothing. So we throttled that down a little bit. Our goal is, it will not give you a ride if that vehicle cannot be to you within 30 minutes. So it will not provide a ride that would be slower than our fixed route system, so nothing longer than an hour at any time. So if it is going to be longer than that, we can have thresholding, or we can allow, we can like give that person a call and say, hey, like something's going on here, we can still get you the ride, but we want to have that conversation with you first. So working with our dispatching office as well as our CSRs to make sure those relationships and those conversations are being had when we're not meeting the goals we're set. But the goal is to be to where the person is within 30 minutes, and then they get to where they need to go within 30 minutes after that pickup. Right now we're averaging about 15 minutes total trip time. So about 10 minutes to get there, 5 minutes to get them anywhere within the zone. Yeah, so it's working really well.
So are people using it to access the fixed route system?
Yes.
I mean, I'm trying to get a sense of what's within the zone versus what's going out of the zone.
Yes, it's a blend of both. So the most common, I guess the best way to describe the zone for us is obviously market in Maine, but those are the boundaries there. And then anything in the southwest corner and quadrant of Bloomington would be the zone. But for us, that means it runs the entirety of the Aqua route, which runs from downtown Bloomington to Southgate and Greyhound type area, and then the line, which runs Market Street corridor for its southern portion of the line, running from downtown to Walmart. So those two fixed routes end up being the periphery, make very easy connection points within anyone who's using the zone there. But it also means you can get to Walmart and Market within the zone, which is great for individuals that need to, shopping, pharmaceuticals, things like that. It also means that's the transfer point for the Sapphire, so people can get to Rivian if that's a potential workplace employer, as well as then Ferrero's in the zone. The other main transfer, of course, is the downtown transfer center, at which point if you get to downtown transfer, you can take any of the routes that are based out of there, which is just one under half of our routes interact with downtown transfer, and also has the green, which is a 10-minute trip on a 15-minute frequency effectively to uptown, at which point you have the rest of our system. We've seen all types of interactions with that. We have people that have been working. There's an individual who has now started taking it every single day, who his trip is from down a little bit south of Miller Park to the downtown transfer, take the green, take the pink, go to Bridgestone. So he's using it in that full multimodal and taking about 48 minutes full trip, which is really special and impressive. When before he actually called in to thank a couple members of our staff on that, which was something we don't get them frequently, so we're happy when it happens, as we all know in public service. because before he was paying about $35 a day in Ubers to get that
Wow.
last leg.
Wow.
Or he was taking his bike, which was adding about an hour time.
I was gonna say,
So-
that's a trip.
It's a long trip, but it adds that multimodal piece. In transit, the biggest question is always first mile, last mile. It's fun to have a solution that we can really rapidly deploy and look at. So already, we have no idea what it's going to look like in the future. We have to figure out logistics and whether or not we can fund it and whether or not it's sustainable to do anywhere and everywhere. But already looking at what next options are for how we could launch more.
And on the fair thing, that I assume has to go through the board, so
Yes.
you're gonna have this process to say, okay, we're setting the fares for this. and here's
Yes.
how it goes.
Yep, a few different options being discussed there. I'll of course save that to the board to
Of course,
discuss rather
yes,
than
yes.
foreshadowing too much. But a lot of decisions to be made there, not only for this part of the fare structure, but how it interacts with our existing fare structure. We're on one fare for all right now, so it's $1.25. If you're on mobility or fixed route currently, we have to figure out if that's going to be the same, if there's a different way to do this. Is $1.25 still appropriate? It was 2013 or 2014, I believe, when the fare was set at $1.25. So only 9 years, but it is 9 years with a pandemic and a lot of other change in between, including our system now being back to almost that full ridership of pre-pandemic levels. So a lot of decisions to make. Will be exciting to see. I'm curious to find out what some of those decisions are as well, personally.
Yes, you.
Yeah, I had one comment and one question. That's wonderful about the, becoming a reliable source of transportation to work.
Mhm.
That can be an absolute game changer for entire communities. And I know that microtransit has trended the other direction, in which it's just too many variables. People have been fired because they're not to work on time, but if this, the connections are working well, that's outstanding.
Yeah.
I didn't see it or notice it at the time, but is there a bike rack on this thing?
Not on the current fleet, so we
Okay,
have to move a
all
little
right.
bit quick. The original plan for these vehicles was to have them electric. We have
Right.
a grant already that we've received, where we're going to be building an additional fleet building out on our base facility, and that's going to be an electric-focused fleet building that will be able to charge all of our e-fleet, including some of the 40-foot Proterras, and then our original plan and the other funds we received is for our microtransit vehicles to be electric. And with that spec, we have looked at getting the bike racks and more of like the full Optibus, like pedestrian sensors and everything else.
Right.
Those have an 18-month wait time.
Okay.
So we have an 18-month wait time. So we now have Dodge ProMasters, which are really great, or Ram ProMasters, excuse me. They are great vehicles because while they don't necessarily meet some of the electrification standards and other things we're aiming for in the long term, they can become really great like rugged utility vehicles as we rotate them through. So we're trying to make that next step. And they're very sharp, attractive vehicles.
Oh, yeah, no, the
Very-
branding on the outside is outstanding.
They look great. The interior is very comfortable. It's very similar to like how you build out a Sprinter van for like airport transit or airport shuttling style service, I think is the closest parallel I draw. But we'll be able to transition those. So we didn't want to buy an asset to just have to dispose of that asset. But this will help us at least keep a fleet vehicle alive longer as we look towards that.
Right.
Bicycles are something that we do want to figure out. There wasn't a great way to bring them to these ones in
Yeah.
short time.
Okay.
But it is in the long-term plan, I believe.
Any other questions from the committee? Comments, discussions? Just one thing I would like to bring to your attention. Thank you to IDOT for the grants on transportation safety. Some of the have to promote and bring public awareness to transportation safety. So one of the events that we'll be attending will be the county fair that will start next Wednesday through Sunday. And so some of the staff and Nancy is helping to coordinating this, and some of the MCRPC staff will be there. We'll share. Thank you to Connect. Also, we'll share a tent and to kind of pass out giveaways, kind of promote the Go Safe. You recall the Go Safe action plan that many of you participate in that planning process. And so we'll be the first, if you will, more the public activities, public events that we're trying to reach out to the public. And as you may know, there are folks from all directions to the county fair. And thank you for the partners too, for those 2 IDOT grants that we received. And we continue the partnership, continue to look for opportunities to get the word out and promote public the transportation safety. So just want to let you know, stop by the tent and I'll bring your families and friends. But again, thanks also to County Highway for donating vests so we can be more getting some attention. And yeah, we'll be partnering at the tent with Connect Transit staff. So yeah, I just want to let you know, again, thanks to IDOT, we got 2 of the grants that we received on this type of activities. And also look for opportunities, downtown farmers market down the road, so we continue and other events that we look for opportunities to get the word out and change, hopefully, people's behavior and make it much safer place for all of us to live. So item number 8, our next scheduled meeting, August 18th, as we put on the agenda. I don't have anything else, and then somebody else have. I take a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Okay, Kevin.
Second.
Okay, Jerry. And all those who in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.